So I just want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Anchor. And if you haven't already heard of Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. And I'm going to explain that. And for one, it's free. And there's a lot of creation tools that will allow you to record and even edit your podcast right from your phone or even your computer. And Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So if you're thinking about making a podcast, seriously, check it out. It's the best.
When the tears are rolling down like a river to the ocean, and there's no one else around, you won't question my devotion. Everybody needs somebody, and you got me. You know that I know that you know that I'll be there for the highs and lows. Give you mine if your heart gets broke. By your side when you're all alone, I will be there. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. 2 a.m. I'ma pick you up. I will be there. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you. When you're down on your luck, no ride home and you got too drunk. Whoa. I'll be there, I'll be there, I'll be there for you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Voices of Serenity. Welcome to 2021. I am so excited to be back. I took a really long break. It was very needed, mentally, everything. I am so excited to finally be back, finally talking to all of you, being here for all of you. And tonight, for my first episode for 2021, I have an amazing guest. And this is Andrea, so say hi.
Hi guys, how are you tonight?
So tonight we are basically going to be talking about the plans that I have for Voices and Threads of Serenity for 2021. And part of the reason why that I have Andrea on for tonight is because she is going to be playing a role within these plans. So, to start off with mine and Andrea's plans is we are going to be fundraising together. We have, done some talking, and she's really great with doing blankets and sweaters, hoodies, you name it, things like that. So, Andrea, you want to talk about this for a few minutes?
Absolutely. So, okay, guys, so I'm Drea. I am from the greater Pacific Northwest area. And like Heather said, I love being able to help people as a survivor myself. So I will be making blankets. So the blankets would be customizable photo blankets. You'll have two different options, essentially, woven or fleece. You'll also have the option of hoodies, t-shirts. And we'll go more into detail once we kind of get the order started and just really figure out our process.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that.
I know, I too.
And I know that, as of right now, as it stands, the proceeds will be going to Threads of Serenity. So that way there I can ensure that, because right now Threads of Serenity, thankfully, I get a lot of donations, and I could not be any more blessed than to be getting donations, even as recent as I was speaking to a woman today who's wanting to meet up and, help me with receiving donations as of this week. So I definitely do get a ton of donations. Part of the proceeds that, we will be getting from this, a lot of it will be for storage, honestly. when I say that I have an entire bedroom, and it's funny because I call it the donation room, that is exactly what this is. Like, it is filled with donations. And I even have donations downstairs in my living room. Like, so having storage totes, shelving, so that way there can be more organization would be so much helpful for when I do receive these donations. It will also be for, because basically like 99, if not 100% of the donations that I receive, they are clothing items. I don't very often get bedding or sheets. I don't want to say very rarely, but, you know, often, but not too often. So, you know, I definitely need to get bedding and sheets. And also another big thing is, you know, personal care hygiene products for the personal care packages that are given to the survivors that are assisted. So the, you know, proceeds that are made with the fundraising will be going to that. And of course, you know, more materials to be able to continue to do these fundraisers. If at any point in time in the future, if we decide to sponsor a family, you know, then of course, you know, that'll change, you know, but, yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So that's definitely one thing that we are going to be doing, and I'm so excited.
I am too. I mean, I think that this is really going to spread the message of hope, you guys. I mean, like, at the end of the day, our sole focus, and Heather brought me in, we've known each other now for, I think, a year. And Heather brought me in.
Something, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and you brought me in, and I mean, now look, like, we're Heather, however many minutes, somebody is sexually assaulted, somebody is hurt. And there are men and women and children who have nothing. They have the clothes on their back, if that. So to be able to provide them with bedding, with, you know, the toiletry items, the soap, shampoos, that is all giving them back their sense of worth, their sense of dignity. You know, when someone takes that from you, sometimes you never get it back.
Yeah, and that's true. And, you know, there was a woman that I was speaking to today. She wanted to donate, you know, some clothing. And one of her questions to me was, you know, do you charge the people that you help, charge them for helping them? And I was just kind of, no, I don't do that. And she was like, well, I'm really glad that I had found you, because it's so hard to find an organization that doesn't charge the people they help.
Exactly. I mean, look how many people go through wigs.
But that sounds weird to me. Yeah, but that sounds weird to me, because it's like, and then I got thinking, do people really charge?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I mean, and I'm not throwing any hate. I'm not throwing any shade, you know, because, like, say, for example, there's a, you know, and I'm not going to put their name out there because, of course, it's, you know, I don't have permission to, you know, say their name or whatever. There is an organization right down the road for me, a charity. Amazing. They do amazing things. And so they have, they also have like a thrift store attached. So of course, and I guess it kind of makes sense, because say if I was to donate a bag of clothing to them, they would take that clothing and then put it on the clothing rack, and people would buy it, and then the proceeds go to the charity. So I guess in a way I get it, but for someone to ask if I charge the people that I'm, you know, helping, and that we're all helping, it kind of took me back a little bit. I could never. I could never. No. I mean, sadly and unfortunately, it is a sad, hard truth that when a rape and sexual assault occurs,
Girl,
you know,
what the heck
whether
happened?
you
And all of
were,
a sudden, you were gone. I was like, what in the
well, I'm glad you're
I
back.
was just looking at my phone.
Can you hear me now?
Heather?
Oh no. um, I don't know what all you heard, but so
I heard
uh,
I heard about
that's so
there's
funny.
organizations, and you were talking about the one down the street that has, like where if you were to go donate, you can donate something, but then they're charging all these people. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So yeah. So what I was saying is that the organization or the charity down the street, if I was to donate the bag of clothing, they would take it, put it on the clothing rack to be sold, and then the money, the proceeds go to their organization or charity, which I guess I understand, but I don't know. I can't foresee myself doing that. And as I was starting to say, the hard truth of the matter is, and the hard reality is that when a rape or sexual assault, or, occurs, regardless of what you're wearing or not wearing, you know, and if, you're in bed, for example, whatever you're wearing when that rape or sexual assault happens, that has to be taken. That has to be taken for DNA testing. That has to be taken for evidence. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't understand that, say, for example, if that traumatic event that just taken place, you go to the hospital for, say, for example, a rape kit, or to be checked out if there was, a fight or a struggle. When they take your clothing, and say if, God forbid, you don't have anyone around you that can bring you clothes, you will leave that hospital in a hospital gown. And as if what you just went through wasn't enough, to leave the hospital in a gown, that just, and it is, and it's so sad, and that just throws you further down into feeling so disgusting, which is why I started this, part of why I started this, because, so that's when Threads of Serenity is reached out to, and we will go provide you that outfit. So that way you don't have to walk out in a hospital gown. Or, when you get home, and while it may be hard enough to, and maybe you won't sleep in that bed that night or a few nights or whatever, but maybe a lot of people don't have more than just one bed set. So you just gave up your only bed set, and what if you don't have the money to replace it?
Exactly.
Threads of Serenity will come in and replace that bedding that was just given up for evidence and
Exactly.
DNA testing.
And you're allowing that person to have normalcy, at least some bit of normalcy back. Our worlds are already shook enough during trauma, and, it doesn't matter how old you are, that trauma will stay with you for the rest of your life. Having acts of good acts of kindness to help people, all you're doing is spreading the message of love, and that everything, no matter what's going on, everything will be okay. You have someone out there that just loves and cares about you.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I didn't come up with the idea of the personal care packages until after I had started Threads of Serenity. And I'm very glad that I did, because when you're going through this, yes, you will feel and you will think, oh my God, I need to get in the shower. I need to scrub. I feel dirty. I feel disgusting. But at the same time, you forget a lot, you know. I know that when I went through mine, I sat in the shower and I just totally spaced out. I forgot to wash my hair. I forgot to wash but I washed my body a lot, but I still didn't seem clean. I felt like I wasn't clean, but I forgot to wash my hair. So that is why I came up with the idea of the personal care packages. And it has so many, hygiene products in it. It has journals in it. So that way there, if you so choose to, you can write out your feelings. If you want to burn the book after you're done, so be it, but it helps.
And I really like the fact that Threads of Serenity, really, and Voices of Serenity, but Threads of Serenity is all about compassion, right? We're all about bringing awareness, and you're about just really showing that these people, these survivors can take back their power, essentially. Well, you're having an organization that you built from the ground up that isn't saying, you went through this horrible experience. Now, if you want this or this or this, I want this from you. This is, we're here for you. Here's items. If you need anything else, you give us a call. No questions asked.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I know, I know one of the, excuse me, I don't know what's going on in my throat tonight. I know one of the many plans that I have for 2021 is, and not with just within my area. Of course, naturally, within my head, I want Threads of Serenity to be everywhere. I don't want there to be a city or a town or a village or a state that Threads of Serenity is not in. I want, when I want Threads of Serenity's name to be known. So that way if a survivor needs it,
exactly,
we're there. The more resources, the more education, the more assistance that is out there, the more that this epidemic of rape and sexual assault and sexual violence will die down. And I know that oftentimes, because one of my biggest goals is a retreat center. And I've said this for years. I want a retreat center so that way if a rape survivor or sexual assault survivor has to leave the hospital and they have nowhere to go, or if you're at home with your abuser and you need to get out, and even if it's you and your children and you need to get out, you have somewhere to go. And you can be there and you can discuss resources with someone there who can really help you and give you the assistance and resources and education that you need. That is one of my major goals. What I honestly would love to see happen is I can shut down Threads of Serenity. To live in a world where this doesn't happen anymore. The epidemic of this is gone. But until then, the more education and awareness and resources and help that can be out there, provided, the more survivors, in essence, can feel comfortable. So with that, I will also want to work on partnering up with rehab and treatment facilities. I know that you and I, alone on private phone calls, we've had this conversation. Even with rape and sexual assault, oftentimes and sometimes they do go hand in hand with domestic violence, drug and alcohol abuse, things of that nature. So with it all in sometimes intertwining with each other, I would like to be able to partner up with rehab and drug facilities and treatment facilities, just so that way there's more help
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what I was going to say. Just because we've had this conversation, there's a serious problem with the lack of resources in our complete nation. Let's just be real. We need more help. We need more people that are willing to help people that are in this type of crisis, because nobody, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, you should never live in fear about being sexually assaulted or raped. And when you survive that horrific trauma, and then you have groups of people that just don't believe you, that don't want to help you, it's worse.
And it is, and it really truly is. I've said this before on past episodes. Everyone can talk about rape. Everyone can talk about sexual assault, but not everyone can understand it. So, there needs to be more. There needs to be more done. And I really, truly, strongly feel that the more help that is out there for women, men, children, for everyone, that, within our nation, that's when everyone else's eyes are going to open up and basically be like, oh shit, it's time to change things. It's time to change our laws. It's time to
stop the victim blaming. Oh, well, what were you wearing that caused it? What did you do? Did you lead this person on? I mean, how many times do we hear that? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
How about just let's end this? Yeah. Let's end this for once. Stop protecting rapists. Stop protecting sexual predators. Fix the judicial system. Give back justice for these victims.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that the more that these kinds, and quite frankly, honestly, it doesn't even have to be Threads of Serenity. As awesome as it would be, it doesn't even have to be Threads of Serenity. And of course, obviously, I know Threads of Serenity isn't the only organization that's out there that deals with rape and sexual assault survivors. I know that there's others, but the more that's out there, the more that is publicly recognized. Something that you don't have to search for, because, let's just be real here. You have to search.
You do. I don't know of anything like this in the state of Washington. I've known nothing.
Right. And it's sad. It's sad that there isn't more, but that just means that it's time for that change. It's time for, one of the reasons why I have this organization and even this podcast is, like my motto says, it's survivors healing together. But it's, when you're a survivor of this, and I even have my moments. You feel as if your voice is just gone. It's taken away from you. It's gone. You know, and it's time to take our voice back and use it and not be re-victimized, whether it's by the public, whether it's by our families, our friends, the media, whatever. It's time to take it back, and it's time to take a stand, and it's time to, you know, fix our system, fix our laws, you know, and everyone needs to stop being scared to use the R word.
Everyone's so ashamed of, it's like, it's something that we're taught from a young age. I don't know if you remember from like being a kid, right? But your parents always tell you, well, you know, you make sure you let us know if anyone's ever hurts you or whatever. Well, you don't get taught about the fact that sometimes you're threatened. Sometimes your safety is threatened. Sometimes you're terrified. You don't know what's going on to you. I know, like, we've talked about this before, you know, but as a survivor, I have bits and pieces of the memories that happened as young as 6 years old. And literally having the conversation this past couple weeks ago with my brother, being able to talk to him about it. And he remembered the person's name. And it was the first time since I don't even know when that we talked about it. And for me, that was like, you know what? Like, my brother's had my back and I'll always have his, but at least I know I'm not alone. And it's that reminder.
And yeah, and that right there is the biggest thing. What you just said is the biggest thing, that you are not alone. That is why I have this podcast. You know, for the viewers that, you know, and like I said, I apologize for taking such a long break. But for those who, you know, are checking this out for the very first time, you know, that is what this is for. This podcast is for survivors who can use this as their platform to tell their story.
Well, I know.
To use their voice.
Exactly. And I think we're going to show how many organizations, you guys, do you know of that do this? Maybe this is going to be like breaking foundation to show other people who maybe aren't doing this yet to get involved in your communities.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and because, you know, and like I said again, for those who are just checking in, you know, I always tell my guests who come on the show and want to share their stories, it's always first name only, anonymously, or an alias name. You know, this is so that way there we can heal together. And so that way there, even if you are a survivor and you're listening to this, you know you're not alone. Because like for me, and I'm sure this is how it is for you too, realistically, I know I'm not the only one that has been raped. I know I am not the only one that has been molested and sexually assaulted. But when I'm having my triggers and I'm in my PTSD and I'm feeling like I'm in that rabbit hole, I feel alone. I feel as if there is nothing you can say to me that will change my mind of me feeling like you don't know what I am talking about. You don't understand what I'm feeling. You know, even though realistically, in a clear state of mind, you know, I know that I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only one that's been through this. It's very different when you're in that mindset, when you're in those emotions and in that regression or, you know, the triggers. You feel so alone. You feel like no one else could ever possibly understand what it is you're going through, what it is you've gone through. And of course, everyone's situation is unique and is different, but you know, there's nothing you could do to tell me that'll change my mind. You ever know
Exactly.
what I'm going through, you know, and that's what this is for. And to, you know, and this show, I don't sugarcoat anything. You know, this is real. This is raw. You know, and it's just so that way there, you know, like we've said, survivors can heal together. They know they're not alone. They can tell their story or listen to educational information.
Well, and I think
So yeah,
we have a huge epidemic here, you guys, with the amount of people that are, like you said, that are raped, that are molested, sexually assaulted. And there's a lot of things that will go hand in hand. We hear about it a lot, right? People ask you, I don't know about it when you were in high school. I mean, we're pretty much the same age. But like in my area, it was, well, have you ever had this happen? Like people would talk about it, but they wouldn't want to be there for you. And so when I tried explaining it one time to somebody, it was like talking in a foreign language. They didn't have the ability to understand the severity of the pain and how I was feeling, like you said, because they haven't experienced that. They haven't known somebody that's going through that. And while people may use that word and say, well, clearly, you guys, this is what this definition actually means, but they're not having the understanding or the empathy to go with it. Nobody should feel ashamed. It does not matter. You did nothing in your lifetime that would deserve for that to happen. It doesn't matter if you're having sex with somebody and all of a sudden they try doing something and you're not comfortable with it. You say no, no means no. You can say no at any point.
mm-hmm. Correct. No,
I mean,
agree.
And then you think about it too. How many people talk about date rape? You don't hear about that.
A lot. Honestly, I was about to say, honestly, you don't hear about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you hear about it every now and then in the news, but then it's sad because the very few times you may hear about it, done and over with, the person's let off. That's it. And it's sad because, you know, these, you know, these abusers who do this, you know, they commit this act. And that's it. You know, but we as survivors, we are stuck with that. And it's a life sentence, honestly. Like, it really, truly is. It is a life sentence that we are given, and they got let off.
Certainly.
And we got handed the life sentence. Because that's something that we can't let go of. And it's not even something that we can't let go of. That's a pain that won't let go of us. That's something that will forever be with us. Because that
well, and we're talking about something that can cause such mental anguish. And you know how many times I don't know about you guys, but I know we've talked about it. We've been to therapy, right? Therapy is super therapeutic and it's helpful and it can give you some tools. But when you sit in there and they're like, I understand what you're saying. I can understand why you feel that way. It's like you want to say, bitch, no, you don't. You don't know what this is like. So stop telling me to suppress it. Let me feel this. Let me ride through this. Let me know that it's okay. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. And that is why, especially when it comes to therapy, whether it's, you know, counseling, therapy, you know, with a psychiatrist, you know, that is why I'm always reminding people, because it's surprising that a lot of people don't know this. It is within your right to change that doctor. You know, if you feel as if you don't click with that person, and this person does trigger you, or you just feel uncomfortable, or you feel that that person isn't working for you, it is within your right to change to another doctor. And it's, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's honestly shocking that a lot of people don't know that. They think that when they are, assigned or referred to this one doctor, psychologist, whoever,
absolutely.
that they have to stick with this person. So oftentimes, if you're lucky and you click with that person off the bat, that's amazing. But sometimes it can make it worse if you don't click with that person. If the therapy and counseling isn't working for you, it can and will make it worse for you. So I'm always reminding people, that is within your
just like you have
right
every single right to
so.
all of your medical chart notes, anything that is in your about your physical, mental, whatever type of health that is HIPAA protected, you have the right to. That includes those doctor physician notes. And if you, like Heather said, if you don't like what someone is saying or how they're treating you, right? Because there's so many providers that just do not have bedside manner. You have the ability to say, you're fired, bring me somebody else in. And if all else fails, you tell them, I want an advocate. I don't want just somebody. I want somebody who is an advocate that helps people through the process of trauma. And if you can't provide it for me, I will find somebody that can. We'll never tell you not to go to therapy. We will never tell you not to do any of that, but we will tell you, don't be afraid to branch out and reach out to the people you know. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask for further referrals.
Correct. Absolutely correct. See, and that's another thing too. Never will I ever pretend or what have you, to be, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm none of those things. I'm not a counselor, none of those. I understand. I've been there. I am a rape survivor. I am a sexual assault survivor. So I do understand. I've also worked, criminal cases, assisted with criminal cases, I should say, as a freelance investigator in regards to these type of situations. So I do understand it on that aspect as well. So I will never ever pretend or, try to portray someone with a degree, because I'm not. I understand, and, with Threads of Serenity, if someone calls the Threads of Serenity number, which, for those who have never heard this show before, that number is 607-218-2180. And that's calling or texting. If you needed help with finding resources within your area, you can call or you can text, and Threads of Serenity will help you find that. It's not one of those things of,
no, there's always going to be follow-up.
My job here is done, exactly. If you want it to be that way, understandable. If you want it to be to where there is continuance within communication and guidance, then that's what we're here for, because the care and comfort isn't, it's not done after the assistance. This is such a process. Here I am, almost 32 years old, and my first incident happened when I was a little girl.
Absolutely.
I'm still working through it, So I definitely don't try to portray, that I'm all sick. I still have my triggers, my moments, flashbacks, all of that. So it's certainly still a process. It's just,
No, it's not. And
bottom
that's why
line, this
it's
isn't
about
something that
having
goes away.
these
So,
resources, these connections, these people. You know, you talk about how you want to see threads grow, right? One thing that would be super fun and it would be super exciting, you guys, and it's only going to be possible with the listeners, is I would love to be able to see us reach out and essentially do an outreach where we find the different major counties around, like surrounding area, right? So like you live in the upper tri-state area. So like the major counties around you. I live in Washington State, so I know of, 5 or 6 counties. Well, you call these people and you say, hey, who is the person to contact regarding this topic? So regarding sexual assault and rape survivors. Did you know that there's this organization that was really eager and it's volunteer ran to assist victims? Take the information and at least get that word of mouth out there, because there's a serious lack of fundraising efforts for families. There's a serious lack of empathy within our judicial system and sometimes within the medical system. We need to be able to show that it's going to be okay.
absolutely. And especially, and this was always, always such an epidemic. You know, it was never, this was never a time or a subject of where it was, oh, hey, it's fine, you know. But I can, it has gotten worse with COVID. And that is a reality. I mean, again, rape and sexual assault has always been bad. It's not something that's gotten better like a cold, you know what I mean? But with COVID, it has gotten worse. You're
Absolutely.
quarantined with your abuser, you know? Um, you can't get the help that you need. You can't, maybe there was a time where you could, escape, quote unquote, escape, to possibly go and get the help that you may have needed from your primary care physician, because everything is video chat, So it has certainly gotten worse. It has certainly taken its toll. The suicide rates have gone up. And I mean, the child abuse rates have gone up. I mean, just, because there's so many situations, where, like I said, they're quarantined and in lockdown with their abuser, sometimes there may be situations where it's the abuser and the abuser's family. So we are at a crucial time where this epidemic needs to be taken care of.
It needs to stop. It needs to stop. How many times do you remember growing up before? I mean, obviously before you were assaulted, do you remember in your lifetime about hearing about it? I never heard these words. I never heard the word rape. Obviously I was 6 years old, but I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know. Your parents can teach you, and I know as a parent myself, like I'm teaching my son, like, this is your body, your choice. However, at the same time, we don't talk about this enough, that, you got to protect your children. You got to protect yourself. You got to tell yourself that, you know what, if somebody hurts you, say something. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I don't have the numbers in front of me. However, it is a very high number. Basically, it is more likely someone you know that will harm you or your child in regards to rape and sexual assault. It is more likely to be a family member, a family friend, a friend, you know, things within that circle, than it is a complete stranger that will harm you or your children. You know, I even find, you know, one thing that I've always taught my children is, you know, if, God forbid,
no, because that's gonna be triggering, babe. It's okay. Take a deep breath.
I know one thing that I have found, even as of recent, it was last week. There was a post I had seen on Facebook where this woman was actually talking about rape and sexual assault. And, you know, I don't want to be mean and say that she was being cocky or what have you. However, you know, she was, you know, talking about how she had martial arts training and, you know, she knows that she can scream rape really loud. And it just kind of amazes me that, you know, and I feel bad for saying this because I definitely don't want it to come across rude, because I'm not meaning it to be rude, but, you know, this is what I mean. We need more people to be educated on this, because in today's society, you know, one thing that I've taught my children, especially, and anyone, honestly, is that if, God forbid, something happens, and say if you're outside playing and something, God forbid, is happening, or someone's trying to, you know, say, try and kidnap you, whatever, or hurt you in that manner, do not scream rape. You just don't. You don't scream rape. You don't scream help. You scream fire. Because honestly and sadly, with the way that children are these days and the way that they play and the way that children are so rough with each other, you could scream help all day long. People are just going to keep going by. They're not going to stop and look. But if you scream fire, they're going to stop and they're going to look.
That's what my
or
mom.
at least glance over.
That's what my mom taught me too.
At the least, you know. So yeah. So I had to, you know, tell her this. And there was a few people that actually, you know, commented back, and they were like, yes, this, you know, my mom taught me this, you know, this is it, you scream fire, you know, but that's almost kind of key right there.
Well, and now, I mean, people are getting really
everything.
creative now with detection, you know, and with trying to ask for help. If you guys are in your area, I don't know all over, but I believe in our area too, they have angel shots. And you should be able to, once COVID ends and bars open, you can always ask your bartender if there is a code word for if you feel unsafe, if someone's trying to assault you, about getting help. And honestly, how many times do we hear? I mean, we see it on TV, movies, you hear it on the radio, you hear about it in the news. People are in restaurants or like they're in a bathroom and they're assaulted. And yeah, date rape. I mean,
what is that called?
Oh, so no,
like no, I know that, but you said there was something
the drink. I think it's an angel shot. An angel shot. I saw something on Facebook about it, and you ask your bartender for an angel shot, and he will know that you need to have someone call 911. So I would look it up. We can look it up and see, and then maybe like at the end or whatever, if you want to be able to put that into like the text or whatever. But yeah, I mean, there's some pretty cool things. I've taught my sister code words. So, I mean, which it may sound stupid when you hear somebody saying elephant or donut or whatever, but that word signifies one thing. And that was because she was worried about seeing her abuser. She was worried that he would see her and take her.
No, that's actually not stupid. That's actually very smart. That was something that I have always taught my children. Is, we have a password with each other. So say, for example, if they're at school, and if someone is trying to pick them up from school and it's not me, and it's not someone that they know, and if someone is like, oh, my mom sent me here to come pick you up, they know to ask, okay, well, what's the password? So if that person doesn't know the password, they know to run the opposite direction and scream fire.
I mean, it's something that we need to be teaching our children. I'm terrified of when my kid grows up. Terrified of it. And they talk about triggers, and they talk about, developing post-traumatic stress disorder, especially after trauma. And when I had my son, it was the most beautiful thing in the world to have him, but it was also triggering in a sense. There's so many people in that room, and they're looking at me and they're touching me, and I might not like the way that they're treating me. And it opens that up. And then going through, therapy, and I was told, as a survivor, you're going to be triggered when your child grows up. There's going to be certain ages. So like the ages like that we were when we were abused, you may experience something around that time. You might experience more flashbacks. I'm experiencing it now. And it's hard.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. It definitely does. And that's very
And it definitely, it stays with you. And just everyone needs to know, it doesn't matter who that person is, who they work for, what type of family they come from. A rapist is a rapist is a rapist. An abuser is an abuser. And, Heather, you helped me with the one thing. And you've helped me with tons of things, but the California incident, and having to call you up and say, I don't know what to do. Somebody that hurt my family is being released from prison because of COVID. What do I do? I didn't know half the shit until you told me, contact these people. And at least was able to get the word out.
Yeah. There's always resources out there. And what's sad is that maybe they're not in your general area. And there's definitely not enough. I will say that. And that's for anything. Whether it's rape and sexual assault, whether it's domestic violence, whether, it's alcohol or drug treatment, there's never enough. There can be more. There needs to be more. There needs to be more help and assistance and guidance and education to be provided for all of these survivors. And that is something that needs to be done. And the only way that this can happen is if we stand up and we stand together and we take back our voices and use them. So, and even if, and there's nothing wrong with being scared to do so. That's okay. But that's part of why even Threads of Serenity is here. I didn't have a voice when I was little, but I have one now. and I'm using that voice. And for those who may not have a voice, or for those who are scared to use their voice because they're just not there yet, and that's okay, I'll be their voice. But just to have the support and the backing, it makes the difference. It makes the difference for a small organization like Threads of Serenity to be able to grow and honestly blossom all across the country, to be able to help survivors and help survivors heal together. And that, like I said in the beginning of the show, there is a lot of goals that I have.
I'm excited to watch it grow and
going to be
just help more people.
For 2021. So, absolutely. I am too. I am too. For those of you who are just checking in, this being the first time you are listening, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram of Threads of Serenity. You can also check this show out, Voices of Serenity. Voices of Serenity can be listened to pretty much where any podcast can be heard, as well as on YouTube. We also now have a TikTok account, Threads and Voices of Serenity. It is a combined account. The contact information, in case if you ever need to get a hold of us, is 607-218-2180, and that is with calling and text. If you want to send an email, the email is threadsofserenity.org, O-R-G, at gmail.com, and the website is threadsofserenity.com. I cannot thank you enough for coming on with me tonight and discussing everything. Everything that we discussed will be in the link.
Absolutely.
Provided.
Happy to be here. You guys have a wonderful and safe night.
Thank you again for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will be back on in, let's see. So I am starting to do this show every other weekend.
Talk to you then. Bye.